Hi, friend.
Hi, friend. Are you ready
Ready for what?
to level up?
Okay, girl, let's get started. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Level Up with Raman and Alysha.
Hi everyone. On today's episode, Alicia and I will be talking about something that we've faced our whole life and probably a lot of brown girls out there too, which is brown girl expectations. And we know that there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and when we talk about expectations, we're talking about social media. We're calling you all out, all you screen readers, the people that hide behind their screens, that talk shit or just creep or just watch your Instagram stories and never like your pictures. We're calling you all out.
And all the in-person aunties that, have to
Yeah.
come up and, give us like 5 million things of 5 million opinions of what they think that we should be doing or what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. For growing up as a brown girl, there have been expectations our whole life and like a lot of unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm laughing because it's funny. You know, Raman and I grew up in Canada. We were born and raised here. And I'm sure when Raman, have you ever been to India?
Yeah, so many
Okay,
times.
just making.
Oh my. But you know what? I haven't been in a very long time, and as long as we have been friends, I haven't been to India.
Okay, so I guess then I'm the most recent 4 years ago. And, it's just interesting because every time you gone to India, so when we were younger, I'm sure you can recall this, you probably had to be covered up.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I'd be like scared to die in India. The crime there is so high.
You were always told to be covered up if you were going to go out. And even then, when you had to go out, you had to go with a male.
Yeah, 100%. My parents were fearful that I would literally die in India. I
But
was
then,
scared that I would die in India.
okay, so were you forced to wear suits or full long dresses when you were there?
So, okay, so I feel like it's been almost 10 years since I've been to India, which wow, that's a really long time.
Yeah.
Um, I remember like I wasn't really into like wearing suits every day kind of thing, so I did the pants with like the kurtas.
Okay. Got
That's
it.
what I did. And then that way like I could like hide my phone and stuff like that. But definitely was we me and my cousin used to go to the town like close by alone for shopping, but nowhere, but we had to be home before it got dark because I heard so many crazy stories of women getting literally stripped from like of their clothes for just for like robbers. They're just robbing people for clothes so they can sell it for money. Like it was just stupid shit. So I was scared. I was like, I'm not gonna try to dress like
So
fancy
you
out
got
here. I'm not
money.
gonna wear jewelry or I got money. I'm just gonna be one of the locals.
So, like, I always was, I never wore suits. I was a rebel, but I did always wear like long dresses, like maxis, or like, shirts and pants or jeans and
Hmm.
whatever. And so, like, but the rule was I wasn't allowed to go out without anybody, which was really odd for me because I was so used to being independent. So, like, on the street where my dada used to live, he had like all these cousins. All my cousins were like family friends were spread out on this one street. So the corner house was one cousin, the other corner. So I was like, when I would go there, I was like, oh, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'd be the girl that's like, I'm running out and going out. And like, they would be like, where the fuck did she go? So nobody could find me. So they would worry. And I was like, but I'm okay. I'm independent. I do this at home. I can do this here. And they were like, hell to the no. So, like, I guess it was the same concept. Maybe they were worried as women, we should be like not
Yeah.
alone and because of whatever's happening. Then when I went
Because it's
now,
like, would they be as worried if you were a guy?
no, absolutely not. And
Yeah.
I went 4 years ago for wedding shopping and I did take my shorter dresses, like the knee high. And because I was going to New Delhi, because my cousins that are my age are dressing the way I'm dressing, we dress here. So I did take my nice outfits. So when I was in New Delhi, I was dressing the way my cousins would dress. But then when I went to Punjab, I was still in my Western clothing. But even then, all my cousins are rocking maxi dresses too. So it has come really far in the sense that, like, clothing wise, women are able to wear what they want. But
Hmm.
when we do look at, like, what happens there, unfortunately, I hate the saying in India is that, these poor women who get raped And then you hear on social media or who these men, they're like, well, you asked for it by dressing that way.
Yes, that is the worst thing to even try to justify an action like that.
Yeah.
But I was telling Alicia that what kind of got us starting to talk about this topic was I found a girl on social media, and I will find her name and her Instagram. She's actually like she's a very popular TikToker and Instagram. I don't know why I don't know her name. But she was getting bashed because she just recently got married, right? So, had they're all Indian outfits, but they're very like nice Indian outfits. Like one was backless and, tummy showing, like arms showing. And basically she was getting kind of like hated on because some people were commenting under her photos saying, oh, you're not dressing like an Indian modest person, like you're not
Oh my
representing our culture and stuff well. And she posted this whole thing and it was really great. And it was about how, um, like who decided that this is how Indian women should dress and why does dressing this way not make us modest and good women? So she goes back into history and talks about like how back in the day, when women in India used to wear saris, they didn't even used to wear blouses. It just used to be like the wrap like around and basically like yeah, like really back in the day. And then basically like more kind of modest clothing actually came around in India during the British Empire. So during that time is when kind of like women started dressing kind of like the quote unquote modest, but whatever,
God.
way. And she's like, why does dressing this way make me, it doesn't make me a bad person. Like, you need to change your kind of views on that. And I thought that was great. And it was just like how, like, and then she also, sorry, goes on to talk about like our Bollywood culture because, growing up, like I watched more Bollywood movies when I was younger than I do now. Now they're shit. But when I was
Yeah.
younger, I grew up watching more Bollywood movies. And I'm sorry, but like, okay, this is one thing I couldn't understand as a child. Like, I don't know why. And I was too, like, I was a very, like, quiet child. So I know hard to believe. But I was too, like, uncomfortable to ask these kind of questions
Like,
to my
why are they
parents.
half
But
naked?
I'd be like, but they're half naked, but I'm not allowed to wear
Yeah, like their
that.
choli top is like right under their boob line. Their full stomach hourglass like waist is out. And
All the way back to like the old Karishma
yeah,
Kapoor and all these movies, they're all in mini skirts and crop tops.
that's what we grew up with,
Yeah.
100%.
And I was so confused because I was like, okay, like why is it okay for them to wear it? And this is like what our Indian culture is representing. It's not like they're wearing covered up clothes on TV. And I'm like, and here my parents are like, your dress is
Cover
too
up.
short. Now my parents gave up, but like, there was a long period of my time where they were like, don't wear dresses too short, or like if you're going to people's houses, like don't wear, sleeveless or don't
Yeah.
wear whatever, cover yourself up. And I was like, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
why do I gotta do all this?
No, and I totally agree with you. What a misconception growing up because like you, I thought the same thing and I never understood. And mind you, I didn't grow up in a very strict home, but I still had to look decent, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
still wore a bikini at the age of like 15, 16. You know what I mean? In front of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of my friends had to be covered up a very certain way in front of their dads. They weren't
Yeah.
allowed to wear dresses or shorts around their dads. I grew up in a very different home in that sense. But as soon as I got married, I had to realize that, hold on, I have a more conservative father in law and
Yeah.
I now need to like wear knee length dresses and like longer dresses and not have cleavage. Even when I go to my brown friends' houses, like yours or like any of my girlfriends growing up, I always made sure if my top was too low, I had a cardigan or a scarf just in case to
Yeah.
be respectful, right? Um, and I'm sure you did the same thing because, like, now we're amongst our other friends because at home everyone's different. You're comfortable in your own house. We both have brothers and we have fathers that we're tight with. So, like, that's different, right? But then going to other people's houses, it's a whole different story. The other thing that I want to point out about Bollywood movies, because you mentioned that, is the fact that, um, remember that movie that came out with Kareena Kapoor and the three girls? Veer,
Veer Da Vyah or Veer Di Shadi or
Veer Di
Veer Da.
Shadi.
Yeah.
And this is one of the very few movies that I went to go see in the theater because it was
Oh,
very
did
much.
you?
Yes, I went with my
No way.
mom, Poonam, and Amit and my dad,
It's a
and
good
we
chick
went.
flick.
Yeah, huge, like really great movie. I've watched it twice now. I enjoyed it thoroughly because I was so impressed with the women in this movie. They
Hmm.
showed India that we can have sex and not be married. We can smoke if we want to. We can drink. We can dress the way we want, and we can be independent. We can get
Yeah.
divorced if we're not happy. We can come home at 4 a.m. in the morning. And
Yeah.
I loved that movie for that reason. Finally, the
That one is
woman.
like a very like modern. I think that's one of well, that's kind of the only movie I've seen. I know there's a lot more movies now that show like the modern India or whatever, but that one really kind of showed some things that don't really get talked about in other
Well,
movies.
India had a lot of hate against this movie
Yeah,
during
they
the time.
did.
Yeah, they were not happy. But reality is, it exists. India is just choosing to stay in the past and not move forward with the rest of the world. It's not a Canadian or American culture. It is the world's culture that is evolving with this generation, our generation, and the younger generations. And India wants to stay 50 years ago. That doesn't
Yeah.
exist
But
anymore.
it's so crazy because it's like what brown girls' expectations are in India, although these cultural things and these things may have stemmed from India and how they have spread across the whole world, and how we are living here in Canada and living this whole life that people maybe in India think like, oh, they have like a more modern life. They were born there, they grew up there, so they probably, but like still we have these brown girl expectations even here.
Yep,
Like
it's
they're
true.
everywhere.
100% agree with you. And so, like, now we go to social media, and, it comes down to like whether a woman is either breastfeeding in public or she's wearing a crop
Hmm.
top, she's wearing a bikini, and she's posting it on social media. It
Yeah.
it suddenly becomes, oh my gosh, how dare she? And even if so, whether she's single or married, it's still bad. And, like, I don't think fashion should determine if you're modest or not. Fashion is
Yeah,
a way to express yourself and express your beauty from the inner self and outside self. We dress up because we feel good, we want to look good, and it's for us, it's not for anyone else. We take the pictures to
100%.
be happy and see our pictures and keep memories. And for God's sakes, we're on vacation half the time, we're wearing these skanky ass clothes. So let us be, you know? And it's like, I think it's so wrong to put modesty along with what you're wearing. How does that even make
100%.
sense?
I don't know. And you know what? I love that girl's response to that comment that she got. I think it was perfect. But I saw this TikTok, and I don't know if did I send it to you or not, or did you see it? But it was so funny because it was a brown girl, and then she goes in front of her mom in like a crop top and
Yeah.
like a skirt, like a long skirt, and her mom's like, oh my God, no, like what are you, like what are you dressed like? And then whatever, sends her away. But then she comes like, and then they show her in another scene where she's wearing a sari with like a short top, and like, the pallu is in a way where like a lot of her tummy is showing, and the mother's like, oh, so beautiful, like in your Indian outfit. But it's like, it's so weird how, and I feel like even me, like I can wear a sari blouse in front of my like parents and not feel in any way. But if I wore a crop top in front of my parents, I would feel waves. It sucks.
True. It's so true because at the end
Because
of the
like
day,
people do wear like they're, even with clothing, like Indian clothing, it's like there's so many modern variations to it now. Like I'm seeing so many nice designs. Um, but it's like if you show your belly when you're wearing like pants and a shirt, then it's like no, no. But you go to an Indian party with all these uncles and aunties, and you show your belly, and you have your nice like backless sari and stuff like that, and that's okay. So
well,
it doesn't make sense.
it's the same thing as women still shouldn't go to a bar at an Indian party.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
are
It's
you
so
kidding me?
awkward. Like,
Yeah.
why do the men all stand at the bar like that?
And so, I grew up with one of my best friends at the time. She came from a very traditional Punjabi family. And we used to go to all these like parties together. And at my house, my side, she could drink openly. at the bar. We could go to the bar at all my cousins' weddings and stuff. If my dad knows I'm drinking, it's okay. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my cousins know, like, we were raised that way. We were straight up from the get go. We drink. That's okay. As long as you do it under our roof or under our eyes, we're okay with that. At
Mm-hmm.
hers, we had to wait till her brothers brought us the drinks.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was
yeah. That
such a
was my life.
switch. Yeah, such a switch. And I think I hit finally like 24, 25. And it was like one of her parties. And she's like, yeah, we're going to drink on the D low. And I'm like, I'm not drinking on the D low. My father is your father's friend. My father knows I drink. I'm going to go to the
Hmm.
bar and get myself a drink. And
Yeah.
I did, because reality is I don't care what anyone else is going to think, because I'm not doing my father's basely. At the end of the day, I'm going to be proper. I'm going to have one drink or two and I'm going to go home.
You know what? That's so like great of you. So I had a moment like that one time where I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go to the bar and have a drink. And it was a male bartender.
Yeah.
And get this.
What?
So I was like, okay, I wasn't 19, but I was probably like 22 or something like that. So obviously I still look very young.
Yeah.
And I go to the bar and I'm like, you know what, this is gonna be quick, right? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna ask for the drink, he's gonna give it to me, and it's gonna be super fast, right? It's gonna be so like I had a whole plan in my head. And
Yeah.
then I go to the bar and then like the guy's like, can I see your ID?
What?
And I was like, oh, fucker. Like, like I get it. Like, they're not asking any of the brown uncles for the ID. Like, I obviously look young, but here I am now. I'm like, shit. Like, then I'm like, I gotta take out my ID, gotta show it to
Oh.
this guy. Is this worth it? And I just did. I was like, fuck that. I was like, not worth it, not worth it. I'm gonna expose myself.
Oh.
Yeah. Another like expectation that I feel like a lot of brown girls have growing up is like, oh, you need to learn how to make roti, you need to learn how to cook. I think like for literally most of my life, I heard from my mother that I need to learn how to make roti for like my in-laws, which like what, and as like a young girl growing up, you're like, what the fuck? Like I have to learn, like, what if they don't eat roti? Or you're like, and at that
Yeah.
time it was like, there's no, of course they want roti. They want like, and you have to make circle rotis and you have to
Can we
learn how to
just say
cook.
for a
And
moment how the joke's on your mother today?
I
Because
know the
your
jokes
man
is
ain't
on my
even
mother,
brown.
everybody, because I'm not marrying an Indian guy, or like I'm not dating an Indian guy. And
So,
like, no,
thank
they don't
goodness.
eat roti. So you know what? See, there you go. Like I knew. So see, I'm so happy I never tried. I'm
Yeah,
so
because you
happy I
would have
didn't
what
bother and
wasted
waste my
time that
time.
would have been.
I could make a roti, it just won't be circle. Like,
Oh, good for you. I can't even
mm,
make a fucking roti.
yeah. I think
But I
one of your
agree.
like bridal shower questions was like, can Alicia make roti?
Yeah, okay. So, my grandma would say it to me growing up too. She said the same thing. You need to learn to make food, Indian food.
But
And
not for them. Like, were they like for your in-laws? Because
yeah,
that's what
no,
I
they were like
heard.
for my husband.
Yeah.
And
And you aren't you like a young person thinking like, what fucking
yeah,
husband?
what, like, isn't he gonna eat what the
Crazy
fuck I
people.
eat? I eat pasta and salad and chicken. What the fuck's he
Hmm.
gonna eat? Roti? And I was like, what? And honestly, I was such a rebel, and I'm sure you were too, because you're like, fuck this. I'm a woman. I'm not gonna sit here and like do this for some guy and his family.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
what
like,
the
fuck no.
fuck? But you know what, Raman? When you think about it today, like, I feel like by them saying that, that actually pushed me away from not wanting to learn to cook, because I
Yeah.
wanted to rebel against that normality and be like, fuck you, I'm the difference, I'm the change. It did push me to not want to cook, but joke's on me now, because I got married and I love cooking.
Yeah,
And I do
that is.
want my kids to eat roti and dal, because at the end of the day, it's a healthy thing to eat.
I have to admit that it is actually healthy. It's probably the most veggies I probably ever ate growing up because ever since I stopped eating like the sabjis and stuff like that, I don't really get the veggies in my system.
Yeah,
Because
see?
we all know how many I eat.
Oh, we know. Oh, we know. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like when brown parents say that, they don't realize that why not teach our daughters to want to cook, just because it's a life skill, really. Like,
And
you need
our
to survive.
sons and the sons.
Yes. And our
Yeah.
sons. but not
Because I
telling
think that's
girls.
what pissed me off growing up. I used to literally remember telling my mom, she used to be like, "Oh, you need to learn how to cook, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, you don't say it to my brother like that he needs to learn how to cook. So if he's 10 years older than me and he's not doing it, like, why are you pushing me to kind of do it?" But that
It,
used to piss me
yeah,
off.
I agree with you, but it's a life skill, right? Why are we making it about like who you're marrying, what you have to do 10 years from now? If you had to move out for college, like what they do, let's be honest, they
Yeah.
have to fend for themselves or live on their own, like a lot of white Caucasian people have their kids leave after they're done school. That's not a
Yes.
normality in our culture. And they say, okay, well, you're done school now. We paid for your education. Get out there. And they're kind of required to like move out and start their lives. We, as brown people, are not considered to start our lives until we get married and move out. That's kind of the
Yeah.
only time you can really leave your parents' home unless you're going for school. But it's very
I
rare.
know. And like a lot of, well, we're kind of moving away from this quite a lot now, but a big expectation growing up was also like, oh, well, the daughter is going to now go move in with the guy's family after you get married. And that was a really big expectation that I kind of grew up with listening to. And for most of my life, I thought that's what I would have to do. And I do remember like one day telling my parents, being like, I don't want to live with in laws. And
Yeah.
they were like, I honestly, they were pretty cool about it. They were like, "Okay." And I'm like, "So if you're gonna like try to find a guy," and you know what? I remember my dad, like someone came to him with like a rishta or something.
Yeah.
And my dad, like one of the first things he said was, "Oh, like she doesn't want to live with in-laws." And they were like, "Oh, he wants to live with his parents." So it was like a quick no. But I like appreciated that about my parents, that at least they were telling people right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. They had your
It's like,
back.
yeah, they're like, "I'm not gonna waste my daughter's time." But
Yeah,
you know,
no.
still jokes on them because the whole none.
I know, right? But yeah, so these expectations really are like stereotypes, they're just the afterthoughts about people and the culture. I don't think they're actual factual things that represent what Indian people are from India. Like, this is
Yeah.
not what we're known for. We are known for, if we go back way in time and we look at it, we're known for spices, we're known for silks, we're known for farming, agriculture. We're known for that. We're known for people
Mhm.
who have olive skin tones, brown skin tones that are exotic and beautiful,
Yeah.
man or woman. We're known for our
I
spices and cooking.
yeah. I don't
It's
know since when, at what
mo-
point in life brown women, brown girls started getting, known for covering up and like the whole non-drinking thing as well. My mother, until this day, I'm like 30 years old now. Like, of course I drink. You know what I mean? I'm like 30 years old, and until this day, my mother will say, girls don't drink. And it's like, who the fuck made you think that like only 50% of the population is allowed to drink and the other isn't? What? If that was the case, would an LCBO only allow men inside?
I
Like,
feel
what?
like your mother needs a glass of wine, bro. She doesn't know what she's missing out on. I think
I
we need to just pour her a
know.
glass of wine and be like, this is juice, auntie, try. And then she'll be like, she likes it. And we'll be like, actually, it's wine and it's good for your heart.
Oh my God, I know, right? I've thought about like slipping stuff in my parents' food before, but I'm scared they would trip out, so that's why I won't do
You just
it.
said food. What are you trying to
Yeah.
slip into people's food?
Oh, I wanted to like give my parents edibles at a time because like I'm like they need to calm
Oh,
down. But I'm scared they would trip out, so I wouldn't ever do that.
okay, I'm really
But
glad you're not going to do that.
yeah, but it's just weird. It's just like every time I hear it, I'm still like it's okay. So like, and this is what I think makes it so bizarre. It's not like my mother says women shouldn't be drinking. She says women because that's how she refers it in the sentence. But what she means is Indian women don't drink. Because
Yeah,
it's not like she's saying like white women or other cultural women or whatever. I know what she means. She means Indian women don't drink. And I'm just
100.
like, because she thinks like, oh, like if other people find out, it's going to be like disrespectful,
Shameful.
shame on the family. I'm like, oh, because I had a drink.
But it's because mainly Ramen, and if we like look at it further, it's because of how she was raised.
Yeah.
So, this is passed on generations. And technically, you're about to break these generations because you are marrying someone that's not Indian. And
Yeah.
you're adding now that Canadianized to your family. You're bringing them to the 21st century in that sense. You're going to like show them that I'm going to do things differently and I'm going to still succeed. I'm still going to hold on to my culture and teach my kids that. And it's not going to change who I am.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, what brown girl expectation do you think is gonna be passed on to our brown daughters?
I know you and I have had a couple conversations on this.
Yeah.
Um, I totally am okay with my kids showing their tummies, like in langas and like cute tops and stuff. Like I think that's fine. I'm not gonna be against that because that's fashion. The drinking thing, as long as it's under my roof, I'm okay with that to a certain age. I think what terrifies me probably the most is gonna be if my kids are gonna settle down at a like reasonable age. Be-
Mm,
and that's probably what's gonna scare me. Everyone I know and everyone I've seen, even myself, we've all settled down later and later. And I
yeah.
wonder what age is our kids going to think? Are they going to go back to the 25s and settle down, or are they going to go to the 30s and settle down?
If
And
they rich, sure.
yeah,
But
right. So my
yeah.
brown expectation might honestly be like the age factor, I want to encourage as much as I can to date after university and college. But like I want them to be understanding that like you don't want to wait all these years and have all this fun and then be like, "Oh, I now need to get married." I want them to have fun,
So
date.
you're telling me, Alicia, that the one thing the every brown auntie annoys us, which is the famous question of when are you getting married? This is the one thing you're gonna tell your kids
I
or
think
your daughter, I should
it's
say.
gonna be that or it's gonna be religion. It's gonna be one or the other. That I have to say.
Okay.
I'm very spiritual. I'm all for my religion and culture. So it'll be one or the other. But yeah, I don't want my child to be alone. I want to know that my kid's gonna be okay. I want
Oh,
to I want to know that my kid's going to have a companion at the right age and be happy and start their lives in a home and things like that.
when you talk
Um,
like this, you make it like make sense why our parents want us to get married like at a certain age.
yeah, your mom's stressed. Straight up.
Yeah. Oh,
Like I look at my in-laws and like how they worry about now the younger ones to get married, my younger siblings, and at first it's so annoying to them and it was annoying to
yeah.
us. I never really grew up with my parents telling me I have to get married. I think they kind of just knew. Well, I was in my life for 10 years and my parents, I was always upfront with them, right? So they knew.
Mhm.
So I guess they were like, whatever, she has a guy, she's good. But I never heard like you are gonna have to settle down. I never heard any of that. But I know
Yeah.
friends that did, and I get it. It's stress for your parents at the end of the day that, okay, we raised our child. What happens if we're gone tomorrow? Who's going to make sure my kid's okay? And that's what it really
People
is.
raise your kids to be independent,
But
strong people.
Ramen, there's
I
so much
know, I know.
independency you can have. Having a companion to go through milestones and weak points, like the pandemic is a great example of that. Anyone who was single during the pandemic, it could not have been easy for them to be so alone. No one to check
Yeah.
up on them, no one to be with, no one to Netflix and chill with. There's
Oh,
independency, and I'm very much still independent as a married woman, but I'm also part of a bond that I know someone is gonna like make sure I'm okay.
yeah.
So that's where I get
Okay,
my
when
juicy
you
sauce.
put it like that, now I can't really argue against like the whole brown girls are expected to get married, blah blah blah. I can't. Well, there goes that argument out the window right now.
Okay, so I need to know what is yours gonna be for your expectation of your kid?
So my parents growing up were very like they wanted me to know Punjabi.
Mhm.
Not really like they don't really care if I know how to read it or write it. But they wanted me to know how to speak it. And that is an expectation that I am gonna have of like my children. I really want them to know how to speak Punjabi. I think I've told you this before too. And I also want them to, so Tim speaks French. I also want them to speak French, right? So I
Yeah.
don't want it to be like, oh, they only learned how to speak Punjabi. I want them to speak French as well. But I really, really want them to know how to speak Punjabi. I know how proud I am to know the language. Like even you, like I get so proud of you. Like even if it's like you say it's tutti panji, which means it's broken, the fact that you know how to speak Punjabi, like is way ahead than people. I know people in our generation that don't know how to speak Punjabi, and I'm just like, how? And you know, like some people like they speak English at home, or they don't have like grandparents and stuff like that that they might have like they have to speak within Punjabi, but I really want to make sure that I carry that on. And that's kind of like going to be my brown girl expectation, or like, and you know, to
Aw.
my son as well. Like, I want them both to know.
Yeah, I like that. You know what? I'm gonna add that to my list too. You're right.
Yeah, I do because I think like it's so easy. Even when I think about my nephew, like we speak in English with him so quickly and so naturally, and he understands Punjabi. And now when he speaks Punjabi, it's so funny. Like it just sounds so cute because he's like
Oh.
really attempting. But like the more we speak with him, the more he's learning as well. But I really want him to know Punjabi too, because I feel like the next generation, it's going to be so easy for us to talk to our kids in English that we're actually going to have to, there's not going to be a lot of parents that are going to make the effort to like speak in Punjabi because it's not what we speak every day. We speak English to go out
Yeah,
of our way to speak another language with them and like make sure that they learn it. I don't think a lot of kids are gonna know how to speak Punjabi, and I want to make sure my kid does because I get told all the time that like, oh, you speak Punjabi really well, and I want like my
you
kids
do.
to know it too. Yeah.
You do actually, and that's why I love having you as my business partner because I know that you charm all the like aunties and uncles. So 100%.
It's true, guys.
But
I do. I do.
you do. And like only you can nail the Melanie names.
Yeah, but clearly I still fuck up sometimes. But oh well.
because we get wrong information. But yeah,
I
no,
know.
I
Alicia
like
did the Milne names one time. I think once she did them, and they
yeah,
were like so like whitewashed
I know because
versions
I'm
of
like,
the
I
names.
don't know. I think I'm pronouncing it right, you know? But honestly, I have to add that to my list too. I have to agree with you. I think like culture is such an important thing. Religion, I think it's going to be up to my child, but it's only like up to us to teach them that. But I'm not very religious, I'm more spiritual. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean I don't believe in God. I believe in a higher being, which is God. I don't have a name for God, but I believe in God. And I respect like all churches and all homes of God's place, like anywhere
Mhm.
I've gone to. But for my children, I want them to still take seriously, like Amin and I have talked about this and we've done this. We've held Diwali in our home where it's just us, you know?
Yeah, like I still want to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I still take Diwali very seriously. I take any Indian culture that we have, any event that happens very seriously. And as us doing it together, Amit said when we got married, he found that he was going to the mandir a lot more because we were married and we were doing it together. And that's something that made me really happy because, it was us doing it together, getting blessings on our birthdays and New Year's. And now that I'm saying this, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, we haven't gone in so long because of the pandemic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was
It's
like,
been a long time.
it was just to remind you to be grateful, and remind
Mhm.
yourself that, like, I am so thankful to be here. And it's like, I think what you're saying from the speaking the language to knowing your heritage, knowing why we wear the beautiful colors we do and get dressed up the way we do, and why it's still important to have like a ceremony, when you get married too, like to speak of
I
that
think this
next.
podcast is turning into like more expectations that brown girls should
But like, think about it. I hear so many girls now say like they want just the civil ceremony because they don't understand the Indian ceremony, whether it
True.
be our Anand Karaj or our Hindu ceremonies, right? Or Gujarati ceremony, or anything. They don't understand it. They think it's too long, or they don't want to sit on the ground that long. We
Yeah.
hear so many people we hear so many people complain, and it's like they forget that you're doing it under God's eyes. That's the whole point. You're being blessed. And I hear a lot of some of my friends that are getting married complain about, oh, they want me to do this. My in-laws want me to do that. And I'm like, why don't you try looking at it in the sense that it's blessings? You're getting
Mhm.
blessings for the rest of your life from someone elder. So when you do something for one of them by like touching their feet, because that's something I don't know if Sikh people do that, but Hindus do,
Yeah.
or like you're going to someone's home because they want you there and taking something and like them, you're saying namaste, you're saying sasrika or whatever, right? It's a blessing when they reciprocate it. And nobody, I feel
Mhm.
like we underestimate that in our age group. And I'm someone who's trying not to. I'm trying to look at the other side as a way of like, okay, no, they're not out to hurt me. They're out to help me or make me succeed.
So you're saying that there are some brown girl expectations that we should maybe like
Hold on
actually
to.
hold on to, and even if it's not interesting or we don't fully understand it, but try to understand it.
I think so. I think there's a way to find meaning and make it your way, as long as it's still the
Yeah.
same thing. We don't have to do it the way our moms did it, and like be so serious and be like, oh, don't smile as a bride, and don't, you have to act like you're shy.
Remember
No,
when that was a thing?
yeah,
Oh
that was
my
my cousin
God.
got
I
punked
remember, and I used to be like, why does every bride look like Dukhi Atma in her wedding photos? What
because
the
you're not
hell?
supposed to be that happy, apparently. But
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, so another brown girl expectation is that when you're married, you're supposed to look like, oh, you're sad that you're leaving your house and stuff like that. And if you look at any like person who got married 10 years ago or longer, all their wedding photos are just like straight sad face. And I used to be like, you paid so much money for your photographer just to look sad in all your photos.
it's so dooky. It's so sad.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's like, no, smile. You paid all this
But
money. You got
now all the brides smile.
we do. Yeah. I cried my entire wedding. But yeah, you're right. Brides smile. And that's something we're already changing. We're changing that we're not just wearing red to our wedding
Yeah,
anymore.
that's
We're
another one.
yeah,
I'm seeing it so, and you know what? Like I always see red and pink, but this summer I've seen a couple of like, okay, I saw one white
green,
lenga, green, yeah, orange I hate.
orange I hate too.
But like the light colors, because like normally
Purple.
like white represents death,
Yeah.
but I've been seeing a lot of like light colors, white, silver, like
Purple.
full, like no color basically,
Yeah, and
which
I
is
agree with you.
different
The white.
against the norm.
I was punked. I wasn't allowed to wear white. I wanted to wear white. So one of
Yeah,
these
no, no.
siblings' weddings or your wedding, I'm fucking wearing white. But yeah. No, and yeah, you're right. And that's what I mean. We're breaking those traditions. But I love how no matter how modern the Indian bride is, if you look at it, she's still doing her chuda ceremony. She's still doing her mendi.
Mhm.
She's still doing the maya. And that's what I mean. We're holding on to our roots. We're just jazzing it up a little more fun so we can appreciate it more.
Yeah. And I think overall, there will always continue to be comments, expectations from aunties, mothers, parents, freaking strangers. Um, and, I feel like no matter what, we will always continue to get judged as brown girls because, as one of my friends, um, living in Brampton, we're like, why does the brown aunties have to stare up and down so hard when you walk by? But it
It's
just is what it is right now. And we will continue to still have those kind of people and still have those kind of expectations. But it's just about how we see those and I guess how we react and, understand that there are traditions that we can walk away from and some that we should hold on to.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Raman. So I hope this was helpful to everyone who might be struggling to find where they are within their culture, especially the South Asian community that we focused on, just because that's what Raman and I know. But remember, like, you're not being rebellious if you also want to enjoy some of these expectations that are out there for us. Make it into your own, make it special, make it glittery, make it your way, right?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, if you have some funny brown girl expectation stories that you have in your household, we'd love to hear them. You can email us at ramanandalisha@gmail.com. And if you're not following us on social media already, you can follow us on Level Up with Raman and Alicia.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.